Hey Julie,
Hi, Tony.
how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
No, for sure. This will be a fun chat. Um, let's jump right into it. Why don't you just tell my listeners who you are?
Okay. I am Julie. I am the owner, designer, illustrator, printer, all the things at Cartoules Press, which is a letterpress and design studio based in Long Beach, California. I started Cartoules Press in 2010 um, to create wedding invitations, and that's part of my business is doing creating and designing bespoke stationery invitations for weddings, baptisms, big sort of life events. And then I also design and create home good items and stickers and lots of other fun things for my online shop.
That's amazing. Obviously, I see this stuff on your posts all the time, and I always see you operating this massive machine. So why don't you just jump right into it? Tell me what is happening with this thing.
Okay. So right around the time that my husband and I got engaged, we were planning our wedding in Greece. So, we were going to have a lot of people from here and Greece come to our wedding. And so it was really important for us to make them bilingual invitations. So I designed them myself and I wanted to get them letterpress printed. I had just heard about letterpress printing, which for those who don't know, is like the original like form of printing in the 1800s, where you take a either like a carving or some sort of relief print and it gets mounted onto these big presses, and then the rollers go over the form and ink it up, and then the paper gets fed into the press and they get clamped together, and so the ink transfers onto the paper and you're also going to get an impression too. So everything's handmade. It's very tactile in that when you're touching the paper you can feel like the indentation, and because everything's handmade, no two pieces are exactly the same. So it's really cool. It's like a little piece of artwork that, your guests get to receive. So these presses vary greatly. I recently acquired a tiny little press that I took with me to a recent pop-up, and that's like 60 pounds of cast iron metal. The one that I use in my studio every day is about 1,500 pounds. It was made in the 1920s, and yeah, it's just a really cool piece of antique machinery.
It was this something on your mind before that? You mentioned that you did this when you were getting ready for your wedding. Was this something before that you envisioned getting into, or you,
Not exactly. So I have always loved paper and stationery. Like I was kind of a nerd as a kid and just like hoarded and collected stationery. Like, going into like the Sanrio, the little like the Japanese like stationery, that kind of stuff. I
yeah?
always loved stuff as a kid. And then I had a pen pal in Greece, my friend in Greece. We would write each other back and forth. So I would like collect stationery and then I would use it and I would write her. So I've always really been interested in that. I think at some point I always figured I was going to be like an entrepreneur or create something and work for myself. Um, and then, yeah, just getting married and going through the whole invitation process, like the opportunity sort of presented itself to me. And at the time, too, there was nothing else that existed like this.
Hmm.
Um, there were very few like online retail Greek shops in 2010. Um, yeah, so I was kind of by myself figuring it out, but I knew that I wanted to create it.
So obviously, it's ideal for wedding invitations. What else is this ideal for? What is the ideal client?
Um, it's mostly going to be invitations. I've collaborated with other brands before, like on prints and things, anything that is going to be produced multiple times. You don't really, because of the time and materials that are used to like set up the printing press, you're not going to just print off one or two copies of whatever the
Right.
thing is. It needs to have multiple runs to make the investment worth it. So usually it's going to be invitations, or like I print all my own prints and greeting cards on the printing press as well, just because I'm doing multiple runs.
Uh, I want to talk a little inspiration, like what, like obviously it seems like you really enjoy doing this, but what inspires you to keep growing Cartoules Press?
Um, well, okay, so I pull obviously a lot of like the content and material from just my experiences growing up as a Greek American kid here, with that whole like experience, and then going every summer to Greece, and things that I would see in the Chorio, sayings that people say to each other that it's like so uniquely Greek. Just bringing that sort of like experience that we kind of all share together, and putting it on something that like people can gift each other. Or, I mean, that's like, I get really inspired when I get messages from people who are like, sent my yaya the mug and she like doesn't have one. She was so happy, and just little things like that that help bring people a little bit closer to Greece, from so far away.
That's amazing. You mentioned Greek American in California. Talk to me about what it's like growing up as a Greek American on the West Coast, because I've come there a couple times. I don't know what the life is there. I know the East Coast, Boston, New York, but talk to me what growing up in California is like.
So I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay Area. I grew up there on the peninsula, and I grew up going to Greek school, Greek dance. The church is like less than 5 minute drive from my parents' house. So like I was there for Sunday school, Goya basketball. Like we lived there, growing
Yep.
up, and did all the things. And then I moved to Long Beach, where my husband was living, or is living, was down here. And I came down here for grad school to be with him about 16 years ago. So again, we live 5 minutes from the church here. So having, kids now, it's great because we're taking them to Greek school and Greek dance, and like doing exactly everything that we did growing up. Obviously, our communities are smaller here and not as big as they are on the East Coast. But we, growing up, would get together with friends at Greek nights, or going to FDF, which you and I were chatting about a little bit, the Greek dance competition that happens every President's Day weekend somewhere on the West Coast. So yeah, that was it. It was a lot of fun. And so we're trying to recreate that now for our kids too.
You say that it's smaller, but I just feel like I don't know. You guys turned up for every time I come to FDF. There's like a million Greeks. I
Yeah.
mean, we may have the numbers, but I feel like things are just more dense here. But I think there's a good amount of Greeks. On the West Coast, but maybe things are just more spread out. That's the vibe I get. Is that everything's just so spread out in
It
California.
really is. I mean, I'm in Long Beach, and like it's an hour from LA, with traffic.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole like LA area, if you're looking at Orange County all the way up to like the Valley, Greeks, that's like a 3 hour drive. And,
Yeah.
it's far. So, but like things like FDF, or big events like when Dina does her concerts, and like, somebody comes
Yeah.
out for a priest or whatever, it really draws people, because not a lot of those events happen that frequently. And so,
Hmm.
especially post pandemic, people are just excited to like get that out there and like see everybody again. And yeah.
For sure. For sure. Awesome. How can listeners find Cartoules Press? Where can they go see some of the product, website, Instagram?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Cartoules Press. And then cartoulespress.com online.
Perfect. You guys heard it there, cartoulespress.com. So I want to shift and talk a little bit about Greece now.
Okay.
Wait, obviously I know this answer, but you're gonna have to tell me, where in Greece do you call home?
Home for me is Kefalonia. My dad was born and raised in Kefalonia. And so that's where we would go every summer as a kid. I had my papu and yaya when they were alive. I have aunts and uncles and my cousins. And even, I was going as a little kid. I made friends in the village, people I still keep in touch with today. So that's our home. we started in the center of the island, where the Ayo is. That's like our claim to fame, and called Valsamata. And then about 10 years ago, my dad always had a dream of building a house on the beach. So he bought a property back then, and we hired an architect and built a house. And my sister and I and my husband were really involved in like the building process, furnishing the home, and all that too. So now that's where we visit.
Amazing. So, as listeners may have realized by now, this is going to become a Kefalonia chat. So, we are going to pick your brain for anyone that wants to learn about Kefalonia, because obviously I think you're going to have the answers for all the questions I've prepared for you.
Okay, let's see.
So, let's start things off talking Kefalonia with Julie. And the first thing I'm going to ask you, if there's one thing you would tell a traveler before they're going to come to Kefalonia for the first time, what is that one thing?
You need a car, 100%. It's a huge island. Like even if you stayed in Argostoli, you could walk. Argostoli, the capital, is a very small, walkable town. But you would be missing out on like all the amazing things that Kefalonia has to offer. So you absolutely 100% need a car to go see everything.
Yeah, for sure. I remember a few times over there, like going anywhere, it's like a 50-minute drive. It was,
yeah.
It sort of reminds me how we were just talking about how things in California are so spread out. I remember when I came to California, my buddy's like, "Oh, let's go eat some Greek food." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." We get in his car. He's driving, like half hour has gone by, 40 minutes ago. I'm like, "Where are we going?" He goes, "Oh, no, this Greek place I found down the street." I'm like, "Down the street? We've been driving for 45 minutes." It took me like an hour out just for like souvlaki.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same in Kefalonia.
It's the same in Kefalonia. I think going from like our house is on the furthest southern part of the island, and then Fiscardo is a really beautiful, picturesque like fishing village. It's really famous because it's one of the few towns that survived the big 1953 earthquake, and that's like on the most northern tip. And I think that's like an hour and a half drive for us. So,
all right. So, what makes Kefalonia unique? Because we obviously got like thousands of Greek islands. So
yeah.
why Kefalonia? What's so unique about it?
It's the largest island on in the Ionian group of islands.
Mm-hmm.
So you can spend like 2 weeks there and still not see everything. So there's always a ton of stuff to do. It's very family friendly. You can go out at night, or you can they always have like things to do with kids, and it's very green. It's super lush and beautiful, and it has the best beaches.
We're going to get into those beaches in a second, because you're right. But before I get into the beaches, I want to talk about one thing that the Ionian is known for. And hard to explain to some people, but the people that have seen it understand right away. There's the blue that we find on the west side of the Ionian you cannot find that anywhere else in Greece. Can you tell me what produces this color?
It is I believe it's the limestone, So,
okay. So that's what I was told too. I just wanted to confirm it with somebody that will probably know a bit more than me.
The other really great thing about Kefalonia is that you're going to get like a ton of different kinds of beaches. So like you asked me about this background.
Yeah.
This is a beach called yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the southern coast of Kefalonia. It's what are they called? So it doesn't have xaplostres or like anything like that. It's just a really tiny little limanaki, and but it's got like these yellow sort of like rocks.
Yeah.
And so the sand is like this golden, like medium sort of like sand. And that's what you're going to find on the whole southern coast of Kefalonia. The blue, white, milky color that you're talking about, you'll find like on the west coast of Kefalonia, because that's what's open to the sea between Kefalonia and Italy.
Correct.
It's really wild, and it's a lot more, the waves like at Mirto, you've been there, like can be really big. And so that constant pounding on the limestone is what makes the sand there, which is super powdery, fine white.
Right. And I always find myself telling people, the water there is this insanely blue. You're not going to find anywhere else in Greece. And they're like, oh, no, there's crystal clear blue water everywhere in Greece. I'm like, I didn't say crystal clear.
Yeah.
This blue, as incredible as it is not clear. You cannot see through it.
No, you could barely see a couple of feet down.
Yeah. But it's some of the most unique eye candy you're going to find in Greece, like approaching Myrtos or approaching some of the beaches on the other Ionian islands. When you see this blue, it's indescribable. People think I just add filters every time I post Kefalonia. Right. I'm like, it's not the case. It's not the case. I might tweak it a tad, but it's not the case.
Yeah, it doesn't really need it.
Yeah, it doesn't. All right, so let's talk about these beaches. What are your 3 favorites as a local? I know a lot of people right away usually say Myrtos, but maybe you will include it, maybe you won't. Let's see.
I will not include, well, I don't know. I'm undecided on that because, so my thing with Myrtos is, I love it. It's obviously gorgeous, but it's always, because it's the most famous beach in Greece, Kefalonia, it's always super crowded.
In Greece, you could say Greece. It's pretty up there.
in August. And it's always had big waves, like scary ass waves. Yeah. And I think I'm a pretty good swimmer and I would always be afraid to go in. Now, last year, for some reason, we hit it on 2 really good days that it was like flat as a lake.
Yeah.
So I don't usually like big waves. I'm from California. I don't go to the beach. I mean, I don't go in really the Thalassa here anyway. My favorite beach is Adisamos, which is the one like famous beach near Sami on the northern like east part of the island. And that's beautiful because it's these big green rolling hills, and then it just goes straight into this beautiful beach with different water than Myrto. It's got this like dark green and like turquoise.
It's got like every shade you could think of, because
green and blue.
Like you think green water, you'd say, no. When you see this green, you're like, wow, that is a beautiful green.
Yeah.
And then it shifts to like a beautiful blue. It's a really amazing beach. For those that listening, you definitely want to have that up high on your list.
For sure. Adisamos. Macriello is like the main beach outside of Argostoli. It's like in this area that like a lot of like British tourists tend to like in Kefalonia. It's got like that golden sand, and it's got like the biggest like beach club probably on the island, if you can even call it that, because Kefalonia is not really known for like beach clubs or nightlife or anything like that. But Macriello, if that's what you want, like that's where it's at. So I think the water there is just really beautiful too. And it's really close to the city and it's like super convenient to get to. So that's like on my top list of beaches. And then there's so many. Got me.
There's like I thought there was hundreds of beaches.
Because I don't.
It's tough to pick 3. It's tough to pick 3 without Myrtos, right?
I would say, yeah, I'm not going to include Myrtos.
But for those listening, it's we're not including it because it's an obvious choice.
It's an obvious choice, yeah. I will say that the southern area of Kefalonia has the best beaches for me. So then maybe number 3 would be a toss-up between Avitho and Aigeli, which are 2 beaches in the Livatho area. They're both very different from each other, though. But they both.
One thing I do want to mention for the listeners is that if you go to Myrtos, you're probably not going to get an umbrella because it's only like a block of like 25.
And they're really far from the water.
And they're far out. So you got to bring an umbrella or expect to get a sunburn. The
tip.
Sun hits really strong there. There's never a moment of shade just because it's, what is it, like over a mile wide? Yeah, so I actually, it's kind of faded, and I've noticed it. I've noticed that I haven't seen it this year, but when I went to Myrtos in around 2018, I had got a bad burn and I had these red dots on my cheek, and they stayed for about 4 years. I
Really?
couldn't get rid of them. I
Huh.
couldn't get rid, just a few red dots right here. And now that I've mentioned it, I completely forgot about it. I'd say for the past year, I haven't seen them, but it took about 4 years for them to go away.
Yeah.
Scary. Yeah. So make sure you put whatever you got to put on you and get an
Sunscreen,
umbrella.
hats, umbrellas, and I would say even bring like lunch and beers and waters and
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like
Because they
that.
don't serve food there either.
There is a beach bar. It depends on the year. Some years they open,
Right.
some years they don't. So
Correct.
you're gonna have to like ask your hotel people or somebody there that knows maybe.
Yeah. I've noticed that the people down there, that one year they're building a new one because they said that
Yeah.
the winter knocked it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes they put flyers for the restaurant up the hill. They'll drive it down, but
Yes.
it's some years it's not convenient. So definitely bring your own
Be prepared.
lunches and
Yeah.
beverages. All right, let's talk towns slash villages, not old school villages. Let's go with your three favorite cities slash towns.
Okay. So I mentioned this like briefly before, but Kefalonia had a really big earthquake in the 50s. So everything is like relatively new on the island. The earthquake pretty much leveled the whole thing, except for one area in the most northern part of Kefalonia, and the town there is called Fiscardo. It's a fishing village. That's one of my top three. It's beautiful. It's has a bunch of like restaurants and shops right on the waterfront, and then all the yachts are sort of like parked right there on the waterfront.
Mm-hmm.
So you can like sit, and it's a great place to people watch and go shopping, and it's really cute. The only thing is it's far, like I mentioned, it's about like an hour from Argostoli. So if you're going to stay up there, and there's beautiful beaches up there, it's just like one sort of like note. Like all the beaches up
Right.
there are beautiful waters, green, but they all kind of look the same. So you need a car again to like go around. So I would say Fiscardo. I love Argostoli. I think it's a really great walkable town. Obviously, it's the capital of Kefalonia. It has Elithostrato, which is like a shopping street. So that's fun. And then the third, I would say, is Sami, is another town, large village. I guess it's a town in Kefalonia, and that's another really great place to stay. And it's also it doesn't have a lot of shopping, but it has a lot of really nice restaurants on the waterfront. It's very cute.
Amazing choices. All right, so now let's talk villages. What are the
Okay.
three villages you'd pick?
Samata is where my dad is from, but it's also where Ayos Gerasimos is. And so whether, you're religious or not, the monastery there is a really cool place to visit. They have Ayos Gerasimos' remains there. You can, at the church, when he was alive, he lived in this tiny little cave underneath the church. And so like you can go down into his little cave, and like you have to crawl through this little hole, and it's like a whole experience. And that village itself is just really beautiful because it's at the base in the valley of Mount Enos, which is the tallest, biggest mountain in all of Kefalonia. And it's just really cute and picturesque. Villages. Fiscardo, I'm going to put that up again because it's just really beautiful. And the architecture in Fiscardo is unlike anywhere else in Kefalonia, just because everything is so old. And even though everything is built in the same style around the island, you can just tell that there's something unique about Fiscardo. And then, where else? Oh, Assos.
I'm like, why is she not mentioning Assos?
I completely blanked on Assos. Assos is so cute.
Yeah.
It's lined. There's so many bougainvilleas everywhere, all over that village. It's really, really beautiful. Again, on the water. And that area is really cool. There's a lot of other really cool beaches over there.
And you can get to Mirtos pretty easily from there.
You can get to Mirtos very easily. It's maybe 10 or 15-minute drive. Yeah. Oh, I thought of another beach. I think
What's there?
number three. Allá para escribir.
Okay.
So it's a little bit further south than Asos, but like in that area, it's like a mini Mirtos. And it has like that same milky water. The cliffs behind aren't quite as high, so it's not so dramatic as Mirtos, but like it's got that same salasa, and it's like the same color and same like sand and everything. It's really cute, and it has the best Saro Taverna, like a fish restaurant, fish tavern right next to it. So I would definitely suggest going there.
Amazing. So obviously different regions of Greece have their like signature foods, signature drinks. What's the signature food that I'd find in Kefalonia?
Kefaloniti pita or keratopita is like a meat pie. That's the traditional like dish of the island. Scordaglia bacalharo is also like they make it a lot there too. Robola is our wine. It's like a white wine that it's unlike anything. It's not like a Chardonnay. It's lighter. It's a lot lighter. And we have like whole festivals dedicated to it every August. What else? Yeah. Kefalon de Kipita is where you're gonna find that everywhere.
All right. How does the local culture compare to everywhere else in Greece?
Well, Kefalonia has like you can tell that it's sort of has this like Italian influence. I haven't actually traveled a ton outside of Kefalonia. I mean, I've been to other islands, and Kefalonia. I think when other Greeks come to Kefalonia, this is what they tell me, that they feel like Kefalonia has a certain like elegance to it or something or like it's sort of like refined. So, and I don't know if that comes from just like the architecture or I don't know what it is, but yeah, it has that Italian influence, and you can see that in the food, even in like the way that people talk. Sometimes there's certain words that Kefalonites use that are that come from like Italian. And
So is there different, not accent, but a dialect?
It's not even a dialect. It's just they're like certain words, and
Okay.
not so many people use it anymore. This is more like how my grandmother would talk, or my cousins talk like this for fun. They'll throwing out like certain words. Like for the longest time, I didn't know that portoni like wasn't a Greek word, but it's the gate. It's the expresa, but they call it portoni in Kefalonia. Just like words like that.
What about when it comes to like history? What is Kefalonia known for?
Kefalonia, well, it was kind of on its own. I mean, as you know, most Greek islands were sort of, hundreds of years ago, just kind of like their own little world, their own cosmos. Right. There's a castle there that they, would build to get away from like the pirates. There were a lot of pirates, and Kefalonia is very much into like the culture there is they like to sing a lot. They have cantades, and so that's a lot of like their history and the way that they sort of like pass down their traditions through music and through dance. We have, our own costumes and dances that are specific to Kefalonia. And I think Kefalonia is mentioned in Greek mythology. The name comes from Kefalos, who was like a god or a demigod or something like that. I'm kind of fuzzy on the details, but.
All right, there you go. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you about some hidden gems in Kefalonia.
Yeah.
And the perfect day trips you can take, and what is the perfect day in Kefalonia, among some other questions. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to visit Greece? So much to see. So much to do. So much to plan. So much wow. So much to take in. So much to learn. So much to enjoy. So much to discover. So little time. Where do you start? Introducing Greece Trips. Never miss a moment. Start planning with us today.
All right, we're back to Greece Chats. We're here with Julie, and we're talking Kefalonia. So let's pick up where we left off. What I want to ask you next is, what are some of the hidden gems in Kefalonia? You don't have to give me a specific amount. Just give me some that come to mind. The ones you're comfortable sharing, because obviously we don't want to spoil them either.
Sure. Well, I kind of mentioned it. There's a really great fish restaurant in the town of Zola, which is the fishermen go fishing every morning, and then they come back and they have like a big thing, and you like go into the restaurant and the guy shows you what he just caught a couple hours before. So that's pretty cool. We love going there. Another really cool sort of hidden gem, and I didn't find out about doing this until a couple years ago, but the beaches, you've heard of Teri, right? I think you've been there.
Yeah, I have. I don't think I've been, but I've heard about it.
Okay. Gosh, that's another really great one I forgot to mention. But you can access that beach by car, but then it's like a 20-minute hike, I think. Or you can get there by boat. And so, again, this fishing village called Zola, you can go there and there's a bunch of little boats there that you can rent. I think the captain, it's like a water taxi basically, and they take you to those beaches. So there's Fteri, and there's like 4 or 5 other beaches like in that whole area. They're really great, and you shouldn't, it's kind of a day trip sort of thing, but it's definitely worth seeing. Fiscardo is something you need to see for sure if you've been to, if it's like your first time going to Kefalonia. If you're there in August, hitting up the Panegyria, obviously, like, all of Greece has their Panegyria in the month of August, but Kefalonia, 2 villages in Kefalonia have Panegyria around the wine, Orobola wine. So it's like the Orobola wine festival, where you like pay the entrance ticket, you go in, and then it's free wine all night. And they have the traditional dancers dancing there, and it's always a really good time. So I would definitely see those if you're there in August. What else? I don't know.
Those are good. Let's not spoil it too much.
Okay.
We gotta let them also feel like they found their own hidden gems, right?
Sure.
So I do that a lot, where like if I'll write a blog or if I'll give somebody some tips, I'll give them a few, but then I'll say, if I keep telling you, then it kind of spoils your adventure.
Yeah.
You gotta feel like you discovered something too, and you come running back and telling us.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's talk day trips. What is a perfect day trip for someone that's in Kefalonia for, let's say, 5 days? They got an extra day, and they like booking activities and stuff like that.
Sure. So one is kind of what I mentioned is driving from Argostoli, if you're staying in Argostoli, assuming you're there, driving to Zola, which is about a 30-minute drive, and then getting on one of those little boats and seeing all those beaches that you really can only access by boat. Another sort of similar trip is going to Iafimia, which is on the other side of Kefalonia, and it's another fishing village, and you can rent your own boats there and cruise up the coast towards Fiscardo, And there's a lot of little tiny beaches there that aren't even accessible by car, as far as I know. So we did that a few years ago, and that was a lot of fun. Another day trip is going to Scala, which is on the like southern east part of Kefalonia. It's another really cute little town, but there's a lot of really cool beaches along the way. But Scala Beach itself is huge. It's really, really, really long, and it has a ton of hotels and restaurants there. It's probably the most I don't want to say commercial because it's not really commercial, but it has like the biggest hotels in Kefalonia, like on the waterfront. It's kind of like in that area. And then one final one that I would say is going on the other side to Lixouri, which Lixouri sort of feels like another island because you either have to like get on a ferry boat and ferry across the bay to get there from Argostoli, or you have to drive around, and it's about a 45-minute drive.
That's the part of the island we got to go south and back up, right? Just to get to the tip. Is that what you're talking about? Like it'd be easy to have like a nice bridge, but we got to go all the way down and we got to come all the way back up. Yeah.
There's two bays in Kefalonia. There's the Argostoli Bay, which is like the small one, which is Argostoli is facing, and then there's the big one right behind Argostoli and right behind that peninsula between Argostoli and Lixouri.
Definitely a unique shape this island has.
Yes, and there's one beach over on that side called Platia Amos. I haven't been there in at least 10 years. We had another big earthquake in like 2012, I think. And it knocked, some boulders fell down and knocked down the stairs basically that let you down to that beach. So like, and that beach is better than Myrtos, I want to say. It has the same water, the same majestic, beautiful mountains in the back. But you can't really access it anymore as far as I know. But that's another and there's a lot of wineries actually on the Lixouri side as well. So you can sort of like do tastings and like hit it up on that side.
Amazing. Well, there you go. Wait, I think there's one more coming that we didn't touch on. The cave. Everyone's got to try the cave, right?
For sure. Yes. So Melisani is this natural sort of phenomenon. They wrote about it in National Geographic like 20 years ago, I think. But basically, when the 1953 earthquake happened, the ceiling fell in, and it fell, like the ground basically opened up, and it fell into this underground lake. Yeah. And so they drilled a tunnel down in there. So now you can go down, and they have little boats, and you just hop on. It fits like 10 people, and they sort of take you around the underground lake, and then they sort of take you behind where it fell in. And there's beautiful stalactites and stalagmites that you can see there. But if you get there around like noon, right when the sun is coming directly down into it, it makes the most amazing colors, and it looks like your boat is floating.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is a really cool experience. I mean, I've done it a couple times, and one of the times the guy that was operating the boat, he was an absolute comedian. He had everybody laughing the entire time. He was singing this song, and it was great with like jokes in it. But aside from that, it's beautiful. You have your cameras ready if you're going to get on this boat.
Yeah, because it feels like it could be a tourist trap because you're going to see tour buses there. You're going to see like people, tons and tons.
But you get there and you're like, all right, where is it? Because all you see is a little shop. But then you got to realize you actually got to go underground. You're walking down some stairs, down through this tunnel.
Yes.
Unless you want to go up onto the mountain and look over the cave, but I'm sure they'll stop you if you try doing something like that.
I don't think they don't have a lookout. I've never been up there.
No.
So they must.
No. There's no setup lookout. Yeah, I'm just saying it's possible because I did fly the drone to go see what it's like up there, and I got a view of it. But just take the stairs down, and it's better inside.
It's better inside.
The water is absolutely crystal clear. And when I say clear, like you could see all the way down. And but they don't want. It's
fresh water. So the water from the mountain comes in there and actually mixes in with the seawater. So there's a restaurant called Katavothres in Argostoli. And if you go there, they used to have a watermill. I don't know if it's there anymore, but anyway, that's where the water from the sea comes into the ground. It travels the whole length of the island all the way to Sami, and then it mixes there in Malisani with the seawater, and then it comes out at another like point in Sami. So it's
we followed it all the way to the point where it spills out,
yes.
and they have this like setup over there. Yeah, we did see that.
You see that too.
That's really cool. And don't try jumping off the boat. They don't want you in the fresh water.
Yes.
All right. So, what's the easiest way for someone that's either already on a Greek island or they're on the mainland? How it's the easiest way to get to Kefalonia?
So Kefalonia has an airport, and they have tons of flights. They open their season, I think, up every April. And so one sort of tip that like we like to do is you can get there from other places in Europe as well. So like if you're flying in from the States and you have a layover, say in, London or Amsterdam or whatever, you can catch a direct flight from there into Kefalonia, and skip Athens completely.
So it's one of the few international airports in Greece that are islands. Yep.
So if you want to start your trip, you can do that. Or obviously fly into Athens, and then there's a few flights a day, I think, during peak season to fly from Athens to Kefalonia. And then also you can take the ferry boat from either Patra or Kilini, and those will take you, they don't go directly to Argostoli though. So you take the ferry boat from the mainland and they take you to the ports in Kefalonia that are kind of on the eastern side, and then you can usually catch a bus from there into Argostoli.
Right. And for those listening, there's no boat that's going to take you from Athens to Piraeus. If you're going to do the boat, you got to drive to either Patras or Kilini. It takes about 2 hours to do that. Otherwise, you can fly from Athens. If you're on any other island on the Aegean, you got to go to Athens first and fly there.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that you can't they're doing that even for all the Aegean. For someone that's, let's say, in Santorini and they want to go to like Paros, you got to fly to Athens first. There's no small planes that just hop the islands. I didn't know that.
I didn't.
But
know
anyway, but when you're in the Kykladas, it's easy to just hop on a boat and you're there before you even realize it. I thought in the past that you could fly around the islands.
I've definitely flown from Paros to Santorini or the other way, but this
they stopped it.
They don't do that anymore, I don't think. Yeah.
All right, so that's Kefalonia. I'm going to have to shift gears now. I know you're not going to like it, but we're going to talk about other parts of Greece.
Okay.
Aside from Kefalonia, I want to hear your 3 favorite Greek islands.
Spetses.
Okay.
I have been there a couple of times. It reminds me kind of Kefalonia. It's very green
the green.
Much smaller, but really, really cute. The town is really cute. We were there last summer. Spetses, Hydra, and Paxos.
I still haven't been there, and it's like on the top of my list to see Antipaxo and Paxo. It's all right. 3 great choices. What about on the mainland? 3 places on the mainland. They could be small villages. They could be cities. So,
I love Thessaloniki. I haven't been in a long time, but it's just a really great big city. Athens is amazing, but I will say, so my husband is from Saronida, which is like a 30-minute drive down the coast outside of Athens. And it's a really cute beach town. And so maybe like, I would say that whole sort of area, Athenian Riviera, but it's even further down than like Vouliagmeni. Like everybody knows Vouliagmeni and, Varkiza and those areas. If you go even further down the coast, then you'll get to Saronida and those beach communities, and they're really cute.
All right. So that's 2.
2, and I haven't really been around anywhere else on the mainland.
Where have you taken the boat from either Kilini or Patra? Just pick one of those.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything bad though. They're fine places. Actually,
all right, we'll just fill it in with. Can we fill it in with Athens?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. We filled it in with Athens.
How about whatever that whole area? Yeah.
All right. What are your 3 favorite Greek dishes?
Makaronia με κιμά.
That's a staple in this show. When I ask everyone, that's a staple. Everybody has to put makaronia με κιμά.
It's so good. And my dad has perfected the recipe, just so I know how to make that now, and it's like my go-to. Scordalia bacalharo, which is like totally kind of weird and random, but like I said, we eat it a lot in Kefalonia. My yaya made it growing up in the summers. It's just like a what's it called? It's like comfort food for me. And then spanakopita. But with leeks and lots of feta. It has to be made a certain way. Not all spanakopita.
Right, I'm going to pause this show because I'm hungry now. I'm going to go eat. All right. What about your 3 favorite desserts?
Lukumades. Galactoburico. And I don't know if this counts, but like just having a pagoto on the beach in Greece.
Yeah, you just put me in a place right now. This winter needs to end.
Yeah.
So the next one, if you're a coffee drinker, is it Freddo, Frappe, or Linico?
It's a toss-up between Freddo and Frappe. In Greece, we make frappe at home every morning, and then I guess when I go out, I always order Freddo just because we can't make it at home.
When you get Freddo, is it Freddo espresso or cappuccino?
Cappuccino.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, no, frappe is like a vibe. It's like when you're hanging out with some people, you start making frappes for everybody. It's like a different mood.
It's just old school Greek too, though. Yeah. Like Freddo cappuccino gained popularity in like the 2000s or something. Yeah. But like if you're OG and you've been going to Greece for a long time, like everybody knows frappe. That's it. Nobody knows what the hell Freddo cappuccino.
Yeah, but it's completely flipped its script now. It's crazy. Totally. But like if like you're hanging with a pare and someone starts making frappe, like it's about to be a good time. You guys are like legit gonna hang out. Awesome. Did we cover everything about Kefalonia? Is there anything I'm forgetting that you want to mention?
I'm collaborating with a shop this year in Kefalonia. So if you go, it's called Onar, Onar. It's on Lithostrato on the like shopping strip in Argostoli. And I'm creating t-shirts for them. So you can find them there. So I'm going to plug that. Definitely visit that. What else? Oh man, I feel like I'm missing out on stuff. I don't know. Argostoli is a really great town to just hang out in. I would stay there if you go to Kefalonia.
And then one other thing that I realized that I didn't know this before. When I was in Kefalonia a couple times ago, I had met up with do you know the guy that runs W Greece? Do you know that page?
I don't know him personally, but yeah.
So he's from Kefalonia, and he took us for a little tour. I forget where he brought us at one point, but he gave us this amazing view. But he also told me that I didn't know it was close enough, but you can do a day tour to Navajo and Zakynthos.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I
thought it was a bit further apart for someone to do day tour.
Yeah, you can, because the ferry boat from like there's a southern port in Kefalonia that goes back and forth to Zakynthos daily. And that's about like a 45-minute hour boat ride. Okay.
So yeah, then it can be done as a tour boat.
For sure.
Amazing. So there you go. You guys got all your Kefalonia info.
And then also I should mention too, I have more things that I'm sure I've forgotten. I wrote a blog post about Kefalonia on my blog, and every summer that I go, I update it with new restaurants, beaches, things that I discover. So check that out too.
And where can we find that?
cartoulespress.com, and then there's a tab that says blog, and you can just scroll down and find I think it's called Kefalonia Travel Guide or something like that.
Perfect. So if you go to Kefalonia, check out Julie's blog on our website, cartoulespress.com, and tap on blog. I have one last question. It's the question I ask everybody on this show before we sign off, and really simple, but complex to answer. What does being Greek mean to you?
I think whenever just like having like the passion and Gephi through life, just doing things with like a purpose, doing things well, or like if you're gonna do something, do it to like the best of your ability, give it your all. So and then also just like keeping tradition alive, I think is something really unique that I'm sure other cultures are like this too, but we're very proud people, being proud of our dance, our music, our language, and like keeping those things really sacred and holding on to them is something really unique to Greeks. So having an appreciation for that and taking care of that for future generations is, I think, something incredibly amazing that we as Greeks can do.
Well said. Awesome. Thank you, Julie. One last thing, plug yourself one more time to let everyone know where they can find Cartoules Press and anything else you'd like to share.
Okay, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Cartoules Press. It's spelled with a C, Cartoules Press. Cartoulespress.com is where you can inquire about wedding invitations, and then also shop my shop online. And that's it.
Amazing. Thank you, Julie. Thanks for coming on the show. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Grease Chats podcast with Tony Kariotis, and we will talk to you again on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.